Let's see here.
Hey, did we mention Bojangles? Oh, we didn't. We didn't need to. We haven't done the Open yet.
We did.
We did, yeah.
We haven't done
Actually, I don't remember.
We didn't.
I can add it to the list.
We went right into Dirty Air.
Yeah. I can add it
'Cause we
to,
went
I'll
to
add it to the
Kickstart.
liners. Yeah.
Well, that being said, we are live on YouTube for Ask Junior.
All right. Hey, everybody. Good to see everybody. Thanks for tuning in for the Ask Junior portion of the show. You guys have been sending in your questions to Xfinity Racing on Twitter. Tony Glover's our guest today. He'll be here in a bit. Tony was a crew chief on the 4 car, the Kodak car, and he also was general manager at Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Abatis. And just a very well-liked, appreciated guy in the garage. We're going to see what he's up to these days. But anyways, let's get to these questions.
This first one here comes from Brent Jordan. He says, the biggest surprise or disappointment when you saw the 2023 NASCAR schedule?
Let's see. Don't the Xfinity cars go to Sonoma now?
They do, yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
That would be fun, actually. I think that would be a fun race to run.
Milwaukee's back on the truck schedule also.
Yeah, I was surprised by that in a good way. I'm not sure exactly where I land on this Chicago street course. I think it's absolutely something we need to try. It's just I'm anxious to see how that goes. I think this car is built for stuff like that, so it's probably going to be entertaining and challenging for the drivers. It would be nice to see them in a new environment that they are unfamiliar with. So I think that'll go well. Did you guys know that the very first automotive race in the United States was held in Chicago?
That's right.
And that they will actually race on a part of the same road, or there's a little bit of a stretch of race of the proposed street course that is actually what they ran on.
The OG course.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So they ran like 10, 30 miles up north, turned around, and then came back south, and finished this race back in 120 years ago, whatever it was. But yeah, they went right down the same road that we're gonna actually have our. And I don't even know that when NASCAR created this whole thing that they even knew that.
Yeah.
Isn't that such a coincidence?
That's wild.
But that hopefully they lean into that, that connection, to this race. But I don't know, obviously North Wilkesboro was a great thing, but I kind of was in the middle of all that. Everything else was pretty straightforward, no?
I think it's pretty, there's still the one-off weekend for Cup.
The Road America,
yeah, that's sad.
A lot of people are sad about that. I mean, I was take it or leave it. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't all that enamored with Cup racing there. The Xfinity race there, I like because it's been done for so long. It kind of feels normal to be going there, and we're still going to go there with the Xfinity series. But the Cup race was kind of so new that I didn't feel like I lost anything, when they changed that. Yeah, that's about it.
Did you see, this is just continuing on Chicago street course, that there's a Chicago art museum that's putting up a fight because they're scared that the motors are going to shake the paintings and the art.
Yeah, so
that's
a thing.
That's a legit thing. I mean, you're laughing about it, but that's
no, I know.
I would be concerned if I was.
I guess if you're the art guy, you're concerned,
the art guy,
right?
yeah.
You're like, hey man,
That's a lot of money that I'm sure is probably at risk.
You're going to be buying a lot of bubble wrap the weekend of the Chicago street course race.
Well,
get that Monet gets rattled a little bit.
I laughed when I heard about that, and I might have even said something on Twitter about it. But this is the part about the Chicago street course that is sort of bugging me a little bit. Is like a lot of people in that at Chicago are not like happy or excited about it. They're like,
It's not getting a lot of local support. Like, I don't know anyone from Chicago that's excited about the street course.
Yeah.
Everyone else is.
Yeah.
But Chicago is not.
They're kind of like, well, I don't know, man. Is this going to be a good thing or not? They're not really like embracing it. At least that the media that you read about is always it's just a sort of stream of concern, right? And I don't know what to think about that. That kind of takes the wind out of the sails for me.
This next one, just continuing on the conversation kind of actually North Wilkesboro, comes from Tyler Bachmann. He said, do you think they'll add safer barriers to North Wilkesboro?
Oh, yeah.
If so, how do you think that will affect? Because that's going to take some track surface away from the racetrack.
Yeah, I think it'll be okay because I've been in conversations with the powers to be, that have the control about that very thing. When they add safer barrier to Bristol, for example, it altered that racetrack in a bad way. When they added safer barrier to Darlington, and especially in turns 3 and 4, it changed the racetrack in a negative way. Anytime you run on a racetrack for years and then they add the safer barrier and that takes away several feet of racetrack, you have to change what you're doing. You don't like that. Now we've gotten to the point to where we've ran so long with the safer barrier at Darlington, you don't even think about it, and you don't see it as a negative. But right when it happened, the first few 4 or 5 races, you're like, man, I really wish I could get that extra couple of feet up against the wall to be able to, position the car for the exit or whatever. It's kind of everywhere that they added the safer barrier, you had to adjust your line or you had to change something about what you did, and that was not something you like to do. But with North Wilkesboro, so the way that you run that racetrack, especially coming off of turn 2, you don't use the whole track. Like, you're not sliding. A lot of times when you're coming out of a corner, man, you're sliding out to the wall and you're using every bit of racetrack and throttle and all that, and you really, you really never get in that position on the corner exit of turn 2 at North Wilkesboro. So I think if they add the safer barrier around this particular racetrack, it might narrow up the exit of turn 4 in a bad way. But the track kind of opens back up down the hill into turn 1. I think you'll be okay all the way into 1 through turn 2. You won't really feel like you're getting crowded or shallowed up off of 2. You're not going to feel like you're missing all that extra, foot of racetrack down the back straightaway. But I think it will narrow up the exit of 4 as you come up out of the hole right before the flag stand. That's going to be a little shallow there, but I'm betting that since most of the people that are going to race there have never been on this track to begin with, they're not going to even know or care. It's not going to bother them one bit. It's sort of when you get used to doing something in a certain way, and now there's this hurdle or object in the way, and having to adjust what you're doing, your line and all. That was always tough at all these tracks when the safe barrier started coming into play. But I think it'll be no problem.
A lot of people tuning in on YouTube are complimenting your Marty Houston shirt.
Yeah, it's Andy's brother, Tommy's son. I don't know if I've worn this one or not. I couldn't decide. I couldn't remember whether I'd worn this shirt on the show or not. But I got a big, long rack of all these throwback shirts and just kind of thumb through them and pull one out.
Play roulette on which one. And then last question here comes from MLJ Fire Dragon 747. That sounds like a high school Hotmail address.
That's Alex.
Yeah, that's Alex. It says, what do you think of that Brandon Jones kid, especially being the new guy for the number 9 car?
I'm excited about it, to be honest with you. I know that there was a lot of positive comments on social media about it, but also some people questioning the move. But then he goes out there and almost puts it, almost gets around Noah to win the race this past weekend at Bristol to kind of prove. That was so fitting for me, standing there watching that race going, our current driver, and then right behind him putting the pressure on is our new driver. This couldn't be any better, having made the announcement that week, than to see them two duking it out at the end of that race. And part of me wanted to see Brandon get a little aggressive with Noah, but at the same time, that's not really Brandon's style. Steve Letarte appreciated that he ran him clean. But it was fitting because I know there was some great feedback on social media about it, but also people are going to have opinions about everything, and to see him go out there and run right on the bumper of that 9 car, I'm like, man, this is awesome. So when I when I think about making a change, or when there's a change to be made, say you've got a crew chief that's retiring, or you got a great relationship with this person and they're a great crew chief, and for example, Steve's a good example of this. All right, so Steve's going to go do TV. If I would have done anything to keep Steve on as my crew chief, right? But he was going to do TV. And so I told Steve, I said, hey man, you got to help me find the guy that comes in and replaces you, and we've got to make an upgrade, right? And it was weird to say that to his face, right? Because in my mind, he was exactly what I needed, and he was the perfect person for that position. But I was going to say, look, anytime we have a void or in a hole to fill, you've got to try to improve the high, on the hire, right? And you've got to feel like that you're trying to bring something in there that can improve or be better. And also, when it comes to drivers, you got to feel like that you can take that driver and make him better. We've seen Brandon race in the Xfinity Series for years, and everybody might think that they know what Brandon is, who Brandon is, where his ability lies, right? Where they could probably handicap him and say, this is what you're going to get with this guy. But we got to feel like, or I've got to feel like, that there's more that he hasn't realized or he hasn't tapped into. He's going to have all of the things that he learned from RCR and from Gibbs, and then he's going to come here and get new tools. And what are those new tools going to do, right? How are those new tools, the things that we're going to be able to provide to him that he's never had before, how are those things going to make him a better race car driver? And how can we make sure that happens? And so I think he's a great little driver, and I think he can even be better. And so that's our objective. That's our goal, and our objective is to find that other 5 or the 2% that he hasn't found yet. And when I was racing in the 8 car, the Bud 8 car, right? There was a lot of me that I hadn't tapped into yet. There was more that I could do, that I could be, that I could become, and I was only half the race car driver that I developed into, going to Hendrick and understanding how they do things and learning all kinds of new ways of approaching stuff. It really changes you when you get in a new culture, different culture. Not that one's better than the other, but they're different. They're so different. Everything the way Gibbs does things is going to be completely different than the way we do them, and that's going to expose Brandon to some new thought processes and hopefully it's going to show up on the racetrack.
Perfect. Well, that is it for this week's Xfinity Ask Junior.
Yeah, appreciate all the great questions. If you haven't tried Xfinity X5, it's great stuff. I've been a customer for a couple years now, had no issues. I haven't even looked in a couple of months at my security cameras on our vacation house, man. But just being able to pull up the app and look right away and know that because your internet's working is the reason why you can see everything going on at that house is a great feeling. It's pretty impressive that it's just up all the time. I've never had any issues whatsoever. I expected a little bit of drop here and there, having to run down there and reboot the router and get everything going again, but it's not giving me any issues. Anyways, thanks to Xfinity for everything they do for us, everything they do for NASCAR. They're a great supporter of the entire industry. Thanks to all y'all's support for everything y'all do to make this, make Dirty Mo click. And we'll see you next week. Have a great week.